we have Tracy Gostick and Laura Poppy. We have Corey Renenbaum as director and works the tech. Linda Court stage managed. Karen Bank prompted. Steph Goss helped with the set. Heather Harkins helped with the lighting. And this play is not just a mystery, but it has musical interludes as well. The first trio is Aaron Lamb, Jen Litzenberger, and me, Sherry Carlton. Next, we will have a solo by Jasper Beliveau. And finally, a group of 4 young, aspiring singers and songstresses. They are Ruby Jean Railton, Sophie Holland, Evie Holland, and Addie Litzenberger. If there are any omissions that I have not said, please accept my apologies. It is also worth noting, no animals were harmed during the production of this play. It may sound like it may look like it, but it did not happen. Now, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let the show begin.
It was a crisp and brilliant winter day in London in 1890. The church bells were ringing softly in the distance. I'd called on my friend Sherlock Holmes at 221B Baker Street upon the second morning after Christmas, with the intention of wishing him the compliments of the season.
That you, Watson?
Indeed it is.
Come in, come in.
I found my friend lounging in his chair by the crackling fire. Beside the chair was a wooden chair, and on the angle of the back hung a very seedy, disreputable, hard felt hat, much the worse for wear. The rather large magnifying glass lying upon the seat of the chair suggested that the hat had been suspended in this manner for the purpose of examination. You're engaged. Perhaps I interrupt you.
Not at all. I'm glad to have a friend with whom I can discuss my results. The matter is a perfectly trivial one. Do you see this old hat?
What?
There are points in connection with it which are not entirely devoid of interest and even of instruction.
I suppose that, homely as it looks, this thing has some deadly story linked onto it. That it is a clue that will guide you in the solution of some mystery and the punishment of some crime.
No crime. Merely one of those whimsical little incidents which will happen when you have 4 million human beings all jostling each other in the space of a few square miles. Amid the action and reaction of so dense a swarm of humanity, many a little problem will present itself, which may be both striking and bizarre, without being criminal. Do you know Peterson, the porter at Raven Hotel?
Yes.
It is to him that this trophy belongs.
It is his hat?
No. He found it. Its owner is unknown. I beg that you will look upon it not as a battered billycock, but as an intellectual problem.
How so?
First, as to how it came here. It arrived upon Christmas morning, in company with the good fat goose. Which is, I believe, roasting at this moment, but in front of Peterson's fire. The facts are these. About 4 o'clock on Christmas morning, Peterson was returning from some small jollification, and was making his way homeward down Tottenham Court Road. In front of him, he saw in the gaslight a tallish man, walking with a slight stagger, and carrying a white goose hung over his shoulder. As they reached the corner of Goose Street, a row broke out between this stranger and a little knot of hooligans.
Hello, governor. What's that you got there?
I
not unusual in that area.
Indeed. One of the ruffians knocked off the man's hat.
You knocked off my hat! It's not all we're going to knock off if you don't handle that bird.
The man raised his stick to defend himself and, swinging it over his head, smashed the shop window behind him. Peterson rushed forward to help the stranger.
I'll protect you, stranger!
But the man, shocked at having broken the window and seeing an official person in uniform rushing towards him, dropped his goose, took to his heels, and vanished amid the labyrinth of small streets that lie in the back of Doncaster Road.
Understandable. Taking Peterson to the hooligans?
The hooligans also fled at the appearance of Peterson.
Come on, mate, let's run! What about the goose?
What's going on down there?
Police! Police! Forget about the bloodiness and run!
Peterson was left in the field of battle with the spoils of victory in the form of this battered hat and a most unimpeachable Christmas goose.
He should have restored the items to their owner.
My dear sir, there lies the problem. Although it is true that for Mrs. Henry Baker was tied to a small note, a bird's leg, and it is also true that the initials HB are legible upon the lining of the hat. But as there are some thousands of Bakers and some hundreds of Henry Bakers in this city of ours, it is not easy to restore lost property to any one of them.
Did he not advertise?
No,
Then what clue can you have as to his identity?
only as much as we can deduce.
From his hat?
Precisely.
But you're joking. What can you gather from this old battered felt?
There is my lens. You know my methods. What can you gather yourself as to the individuality of the man who has worn this article?
It is a very ordinary gray hat of the usual pattern, much the worse for wear. The lining was gold silk and is a good deal discolored. As you remarked, the initials HB are scrawled on one side. It is cracked, exceedingly dusty, and spotted in several places. Although it seems some attempt has been made to cover the spots by smearing them with ink.
What can you see of its owner?
I can see nothing.
On the contrary, Watson, you can see everything. You fail, however, to reason from what you see. You are too timid in drawing your inferences.
Well, pray tell me then what it is that you infer from this hat. He gazed at it in the peculiar introspective fashion that was characteristic of him.
That the man is highly intellectual is obvious upon the face of it. Also, he was fairly well to do within the last 3 years, although he has now fallen upon hard times. This may account also for the reason why his wife has ceased to love him.
My dear Holmes,
He has, however, retained some degree of self-respect. He is a man who goes out little. Also, it is extremely improbable that he has gas turned on in his house.
you are certainly joking.
I never joke. Is it possible that even now, after I have given you these results, that you are unable to see how they are attained?
I must confess I am unable to follow you. For example, how did you deduce that the man was intellectual?
It's a question of cubic capacity. A man with such a large brain must have something in it.
His decline in fortunes then.
This hat is 3 years old. These flat brims curled at the edges came in around that time. It is a hat of the finest quality. Look at the band of ribbed silk and the excellent lining. If this man could afford to buy and has had no new hat since, then he has assuredly gone down in the world.
Well, that is clear enough.
This dust, you will observe, is not the gritty gray dust of the street, but rather the fluffy brown dust of the house, suggesting it has spent most of its time hung up indoors.
Your reasoning is certainly plausible. But his wife, he said she had ceased to love him.
This hat has not been brushed in weeks. When I see you, my dear Watson, with a week's accumulation of dust upon your hat, and when your wife allows you to go out in such a state, I shall fear that you also have been unfortunate enough to lose your wife's affection.
He might be a bachelor.
Nay, he was bringing home the bird as a peace offering to his wife. Remember the card tied to the bird's leg.
You have an answer for everything.
I have an answer for everything. It's not I. It's the hat. The answers are there on the hat, plain as day. How many times have I told you, Watson? Once you have eliminated the impossible, whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth.
All right, all right. How on earth do you deduce that the gas is not turned on in his house?
Elementary, my dear Watson. One tallow stain, or maybe two, might come by chance. But when I see no less than 5, there can be little doubt that the individual who wears this hat has come into frequent contact with burning tallow. Walks upstairs at night, probably hat in one hand, guttering candle in the other. Anyhow, he never got tallow stains in the gas jet. Are you satisfied?
Well, it is very ingenious. But since, as you said just now, that there had been no crime committed, and no harm done save the loss of a goose, all this seemed rather a waste of energy. Holmes opened his mouth to reply, when Peterson, the porter at the Raven Hotel, rushed into the apartment with flushed cheeks and the face of a man dazed with astonishment.
The goose, Mr. Holmes! The goose, sir!
Eh? What of it then? Has it returned to life and flapped off through the kitchen window?
No, sir. No. My wife found this in its throat.
By Jove, Peterson! This is a treasure trove indeed. I suppose you know what you've got.
A diamond, sir? A precious stone. It cuts through glass as though it were putty.
It is more than a precious stone. It is the precious stone.
Not the Countess of Morcar's blue carbuncle.
Precisely so. I ought to know its size and shape as I have read about it in the Times of the day this week. It is absolutely unique, and its value can only be conjectured. But the reward offered of £1,000 is not within a 20th part of the market price.
£1,000, sir? Great Lord of mercy!
That is the reward offered. But I have reason to know that there are sentimental considerations in the background, which would induce the Countess to part with half her fortune if she could but recover the gem.
It was lost, if I remember all right, at the Hotel Cosmopolitan.
Precisely so. On December 22nd, just 5 days ago, John Horner, a plumber, was accused of having absconded it from the lady's jewel case.
Well, here it is, Mr. Horner. The Countess of Macaw's dressing room.
Oh, such luxury.
Well, she does pay a pretty penny to live this life of lavishness, believe you me.
I'm sure being a countess, it's like a drop in the bucket to the likes of her.
Yes. Speaking of buckets, perhaps I should show you the,
Toilet?
yes. They seem to be quite, well,
Distressed?
yes. Right this way. or anything else?
Oh no, I can handle it from here.
All right then. I have other guests to attend to. It seems some people can't go a day without complaining about something.
Good day to you, Mr. Ryder.
Yes, good day to you too.
Oh, I see the difficulty. Oh, yeah. Look. Hey, this should do the trick. Huh?
When James Ryder, head attendant, returned to check the upkeep of the room, he found that Horner was gone and that the bureau had been forced open.
Police! Police! Foul play in the Countess's dressing room!
They caught up with Horner at his home. He struggled frantically and protested his innocence in the strongest of terms.
I'm innocent, I tell you, I'm innocent!
Horner was arrested that same evening, but the stone could not be found either in his room or upon his person. According to the witness testimony of Captain Goose made to the Countess,
I heard Mr. Ryder's cry of dismay on the discovery of the robbery. So I rushed into the room where I found that small Moroccan casket where the Countess left her jewel, lying empty on the dressing table.
But it wasn't me, I tell you. What would I even do with a blue carbuncle?
The accused will be quiet.
But Your Honor.
We've already seen previous conviction for robbery. Things don't look too good for you, sir.
But that was a mistake, too. Why me? Why always me?
You heard the judge. Pipe down.
Yeah, but you got the wrong bloke, I tell you.
Oh, he's offended!
Order in the court.
But Your Honor.
Enough of this. Bail is already set for £20,000. The accused will be set to trial in New York.
No, please.
Take him away.
Oh.
I'm too young for this.
The reaction of a guilty man.
Perhaps. The question now is the series of events leading from a rifled jewel case at one end to the throat of a goose at the other. Our little deductions have now assumed a much less innocent aspect. The Countess of Morcar lost a stone. The stone was found inside a goose. The goose belonged to Mr. Henry Baker, the gentleman who lost his squalid hat. So now we must find Mr. Baker and ascertain what part he has played in this little mystery. To do this, we must use the simplest means possible. And those lie undoubtedly in an advertisement in this evening's papers.
What will you say?
Peterson, do you have pencil and paper?
I do, sir.
Write this down. Found at the corner of Goose Street. A goose and a gray felt hat. Mr. Henry Baker can have the same by applying at 6:30 this evening to 221B Baker Street. Found at the corner of Good Street.
Goose Street.
Baker, 6:30, Baker Street. That is clear and concise.
Right. But will he see it?
Well, he is sure to keep an eye on the papers. As to a poor man, the loss was a heavy one. He was clearly so frightened at the broken window and the appearance of Peterson that he thought of nothing but flight. Since then, he must have bitterly regretted dropping his bird. The introduction of his name will cause him to see the advertisement, for everyone who knows him will direct his attention to it. Peterson, run down to the advertising agency and have this put in all of the evening papers.
Yes, sir, Mr. Holmes. And the stone.
Oh yes, I'll keep that. Thank you. And Peterson, drop off this note at the Hotel Cosmopolitan, letting the Countess know that we have her stone.
Right away, sir.
And Peterson, find Goose on your way back. Or we must have one to give to this gentleman in place of the one which your family is now devouring.
Yes, sir.
What are you waiting for? Off you go! It is a bonny thing. Just look how it glints and sparkles. Of course, it is a nucleus and focus of crime. Every good stone is. This stone, which is but 20 years old, was found in China. It is absolutely unique in having every characteristic of the carbuncle, save that it is blue in shade instead of ruby red. In spite of its youth, it has already a sinister history.
Sinister? How so?
There have been 2 murders, an acid throwing, and a suicide, brought about for the sake of this 40-grain weight of crystallized charcoal.
Quite sinister indeed.
Who would think that so pretty a toy would be a conveyor to the gallows and prison?
Do you think that this man Horner the plumber is innocent?
I cannot tell.
Well then, do you imagine that this other one, Henry Baker, had anything to do with the matter?
It is far more likely that Mr. Henry Baker is an absolutely innocent man who had no idea that the bird he was carrying could not have been worth more had it been made of solid gold. This, however, I shall determine with a very simple test when we have an answer to our advertisement.
And until then you can do nothing?
Nothing.
Are you two ready for your tea?
Nothing for me, Mrs. Hudson. I must continue my professional round.
Oh, always on the go, both of you, always on the go.
I shall return later at the hour you mentioned, for I should like to see the solution to so tangled a mystery.
Very glad to see you, my friend. I dine at 7. What's on the menu tonight, my dear lady?
A roasted woodcock coated in a sage pesto with a pancetta and a beef puree.
In light of recent events, perhaps, Mrs. Hudson, you should examine the woodcock's throat.
Yes, very good, Holmes.
Yes.
Very good indeed.
I never know what either one of them's going on about. But I don't care what Mr. Sherlock Holmes may say about the holiday season. I love it. It fills me with hope and joy.
I'm dreaming of a white Christmas, just like the one be white. Christmases be white.
I was delayed at a case, and it was a little after 6:30 when I found myself in Baker Street once more. As I approached the house, I saw a tall man in a Scotch bonnet with a coat buttoned up to his chin, waiting outside in the bright semicircle thrown by the fan. He was a large man, rounded shoulders, massive head, and broad, intelligent face. The touch of red in the nose and the cheeks was surrounded by a pointed beard of grizzled brown. Just as I arrived, Mrs. Hudson opened the door.
Ah, what can I do for you, sir?
I'm here to see Mr. Sherlock Holmes.
Regarding?
Well, it's a private matter.
Oh, it always is.
I shall show him up, Mrs. Hudson.
Oh, thank you, Doctor.
Well, after you.
No, after you.
No. After you, I insist.
Well, if you insist. I again found my friend lounging in his chair, the fire burning bright as day.
Oh, Mr. Henry Baker, I presume? Pray take this chair by the fire. It's a cold night, and I observe that your circulation is better adapted to summer than winter. Watson, you have just come at the right time. It's your hat, Mr. Baker.
Yeah, that's undoubtedly my hat.
We have retained these items for some time, as we expected to see an advertisement from you giving your address. I am at a loss to know now why you did not advertise.
Well, shillings haven't been so plentiful for me as they once were. I had no doubt that gang of ruffians went off with my hat and my bird. I didn't care to spend more money in a hopeless attempt in recovering them.
By the way, about the bird, we were compelled to eat it.
You ate my bird?
It would have been of little use to anyone had we not done so. But I presume that this other bird upon the dresser, which is of the same weight and perfectly fresh, will answer your purpose equally well.
Oh, yes, certainly.
Of course, we still have the feet, legs, and throat of your other bird if you so wish.
No. They might be useful to me as relics of my past adventures, but beyond that, I can hardly see what the use of a digestive member of a late acquaintance will be to me. No, sir, I think if it's okay with you, I'd much rather have that excellent bird that precedes me upon the dresser.
Holmes glanced across at me sharply with a slight shrug of his shoulders.
Very well then, there your hat, and there your bird. By the way, would it bore you to tell me where you got the other one from? I am somewhat of a fowl fancier, and I have seldom seen a better grown goose.
Oh, certainly, sir. Well, there are a few of us who frequent the Alpha Inn outside the museum. We're to be inside the museum during the day. You understand?
Of course.
Naturally.
Well, our good host, Mrs. Wintergate by name, instituted a goose law with the commission of a few pence every few weeks. We were each to receive a bird at Christmas time, and my pence were duly paid, and well, the rest is familiar to you. Anyways, I must be off. The missus will be happy to see this bit of poultry. I'm in debt to you, sir, for the Scotch bonnet is fit neither by my years nor by gravity. So, good day to you.
particularly.
Then I suggest that we forego our dinner and follow up this clue while it is still hot. Come, Watson, the game is afoot.
So off we went into the brisk cold of a London night in December.
It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. Everywhere you go, take a look at the 5 and 10, glistening once again. The candy canes and silver lanes aglow. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. Toys in every store. But the prettiest sight to see is the holly that will be on your own front door. A pair of hot little boots and a pistol that shoots is a wish of Barney and Ben. Dolls that will talk and will go for a walk is a hope of Janice and Jen. And Mom and Dad can hardly wait for school to start again. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. Everywhere you go, there's a tree in the Grand Hotel, one in the park as well, the sturdy kind that doesn't mind the snow. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. Soon the bells will start, and the thing that'll make them ring is the carol that you sing right within your heart.
Happy holidays, Mrs. B.
Happy holidays to you too, Georgie.
Done with the markets, are we?
I only wish. Did you hear about my stroke of luck?
What stroke of luck is that?
On Christmas morning, I had a dozen geese up to sell, and you'll never guess who I sold them to.
Pray tell who?
Mr. Ebenezer Scrooge.
What? Mr. Humbug himself?
The same. I hear tell that on Christmas morning, he fell out of his bedroom window, landed on his head, and started raving on about ghosts.
Ghosts? Now I have heard everything.
I bet my last 2 quid he was on the drink.
Probably that old skinflint.
Yeah, well, I must be off to the market. Geese don't sell themselves.
Ta-ta.
Ta-ta.
Our footfalls rang crisply and loudly as we swung through the doctor's quarters, Wimpole Street.
Can you feel it, Watson? There's electricity in the air. Puts a bounce in one's step and a smile on one's face.
Oh yes, my friend, the holidays can lift almost anyone's spirits.
Holidays? I was referring to our investigation. The hunt for what will certainly be a dastardly criminal. The pursuit of the truth.
Oh, I beg your pardon.
I suppose the holidays have their merits as well.
Then we headed down Harley Street.
Get your evening paper here. Read an interview with Mr. Hyde about the mysterious disappearance of Dr. Jekyll.
And saw through Wigmore Street into Oxford Street. And in a quarter of an hour, we were in Bloomsbury at the Alpha Inn.
4 turtle doves, 3 turtle doves, 5 turtle doves, and a partridge in a pear tree. And then the goose says, "I'm a goose! Of course you can put it on the bill!"
Well,
but always a pleasure to have a pint with. I was saying to my husband the other day.
And, where do you keep your delicious geese?
Them's not my geese. He thinks them's my geese. Can you imagine a bunch of geese in here wandering around and bumping?
Indeed. Whose geese then?
Oh, I got the 2 dozen from a stall down at Covent Garden.
Covent Garden, you say? I know some of them sellers.
Yes.
Which one was it?
Breckenridge is her name.
I don't know that one.
Oh, lovely woman. Bit of a twisted sense of humor, if you know what I mean. But she's a straight arrow. She tells it like it is. Well, sometimes she could be a bit surly, but I suppose that happens to the best of us, if you know what I mean. Why, I was just telling you.
Where might I find this purveyor of geese? This, Miss Breckenridge?
Oh, hers is it's Mrs. Breckenridge. Hers is the 3rd stall, on the left as you come in from Sussex Alley. Now, if you were to come by James Street, you'd never find her.
Well, here's your health, my landlady, and prosperity to your house.
You could dart down Paddington Passway and Paddington as well.
Good night.
Oh, my. Ain't he the brief one?
Now from Mrs. Breckenridge. Remember, Watson, that although we have a goose at one end of this chain, at the other we have Mr. John Horner, who will certainly get 7 years penal servitude unless we can establish his innocence. It's possible that our inquiry may but confirm his guilt. But in either case, we have a line of investigation which has been missed by the police. Let us follow it out to the bitter end. Faces to the south then, and quick march.
We passed across Holborn.
Miracles do happen. Read all about it. Tiny Tim walks.
Down Angle Street. Good evening, my lord. Can you spare some silver?
Of course. Watson?
Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you. You're an angel, an angel.
Yes, I am.
And so through a zigzag of slums to Covent Garden Market.
Shallots for a shilling.
Cornish hens straight from Cornwall for 20p.
2p, dill, Christmas cake for 2 pence.
Chestnuts roasting on open fire! Get the mother hot!
One of the largest stalls bore the name Breckenridge upon it, and the proprietor, round-faced lady, was closing up shop.
Good evening. It's a cold night. Sold out of geese, I see.
Let you have 500 tomorrow morning.
That's no good.
Yeah, well, there's some at the stall across the way. The one with the gas flare?
But I was recommended to you.
Who by?
The landlady at the Alpha.
Oh yeah, I sent her a couple of dozen.
Fine birds they were, too. Where did you get them?
Now then, mister, what are you driving at? Let's have it straight.
Why, it's straight enough. I simply wish to know who sold you the geese which you supplied to the Alpha.
Well then, I shan't tell you. So now.
It is a matter of no importance, but I should have no idea why you should be so troubled over such a trifle.
Trouble? You'd be as troubled, maybe, if you're as passionate as I am. When I pay good money for a good article, there should be an end to the business. But it's, where are the geese? And who did you sell the geese to? And what do you take for the geese? Some would think they're the only geese in the world to hear the fuss is made over them.
Well, I have no connections with anyone else who's made inquiries. But you won't tell us. The bet is off.
Bet?
I'm always ready to back my opinion on a matter of fowl It was nothing of the kind.
I say it is.
I don't believe it.
Do you really think you know more about fowl than I, who've handled them ever since I was a nipper? I tell you, all those birds that went to the Alpha were town bred.
You'll never persuade me to believe that.
Will you bet, then?
It's merely taking your money, for I know that I'm right. But I'll have a sovereign on with you, just to teach you not to be obstinate.
Well then, Mr. Smarty Pants, I thought I was out of geese. But before I finish up, we'll find there's still one left in my shop. You see this book? Well, this is the list of folk from whom I buy. Do you see? Well then, here on this page is a list of the country folk. We're not the least bit interested in them. Here on this other page is the list of my town suppliers. Now, what's that third name? Just read it out to me.
Mrs. Oakshott, 117 Brixton Road, egg and poultry supplier.
And what's that last entry?
December 22nd, 24 geese at 6 shillings 7 pence.
Quite so. There you are. And underneath?
Sold to Mrs. Windigate of the Alpha Inn for 12 shillings.
What have you to say now?
Sherlock Holmes looked deeply chagrined. Drawing a sovereign from his pocket, he threw it down on the slab, turning around with the face of a man with the air of a man whose disgust is too deep for words.
When you see a woman with such sharp features, with a racing form protruding out of her pocket, you can always draw her into a bet.
Indeed, Holmes, indeed.
I dare say if I had put 100 pounds down in front of that woman, she would not have given me such complete information as what was drawn from her on the idea that she was doing me on a wager.
Indeed, Holmes.
Back again? I've had enough of you and your geese.
I don't understand why you can't just answer the question.
Because one question leads to another, which leads to another. I've had it.
My friend's remarks were cut short by a loud hubbub that broke out from the stall which we had just left. Turning round, we saw a pathetic, rat-faced fellow standing in the center of a circle of yellow light from the swinging lantern, while Breckenridge, framed in the door of her stall, was fiercely shaking her fists at the cringing creature.
Geese, geese, geese! How did you were all the devil together? You come pester me with your silly talk again, I'll set the dog on you. You bring Mrs. Oakshott here and I'll answer to her. What have you to do with it? Did I buy any geese off of you?
No, but one of those geese is mine all the same.
Well then, go ask Mrs. Oakshott for it.
She told me to ask you.
You can ask the King of Perugia for all I care. Now get out of this. I've had it.
This may save us a trip to Brixton Road. Come, Watson. Let's see what this fellow is about.
Well, who are you? What do you want?
Excuse me. I couldn't help but overhear the questions which you put to the saleswoman just now. I believe I could be of assistance to you.
You? Who are you? How can you know anything of this?
It is my business to know what other people do not know.
But you can know nothing of this.
Excuse me. But I know everything of the matter. You are endeavoring to trace some geese, which were sold by Mrs. Oakshott of Brixton Road to a saleswoman named Breckenridge, and by her returned to Mrs. Windigate of the Alpha, by her to her club, which Mr. Henry Baker is a member.
Are you the devil?
No, my name is Sherlock Holmes.
Your name means nothing to me. But based on your analytical deductions, you're a man who I've longed to meet. You have no idea how interested I am in this matter.
In that case, we should discuss this in a cozy room, rather than in this windswept marketplace. But pray tell me, before we go further, who it is I have the pleasure of assisting.
My name is Ron Jobberson. No, wait! I mean, John Robinson.
No, your real name. It's always awkward doing business with an alias.
And how did you know that wasn't my real name?
Obviously by the curve of your left eyebrow.
Very well. My real name is James Ryder.
Precisely so. Head attendant at Hotel Cosmopolitan. Driver, 3 for Baker Street, please. Whoa, not Atlantic City, girl. Pray step into the cab, and I will soon be able to tell you everything which you wish to know.
This little man stood glancing from one to the other of us with half frightened, half hopeful eyes, as of one who is not sure whether he is on the verge of a windfall or a catastrophe. Then he stepped into the cab. Nothing had been said during our drive, but the high, thin breathing of our new companion and the clasping and unclasping of his hands spoke of the nervous tension within him.
The fire looks very seasonable. You look cold, Ryder. Pray take this chair to the fire. Now then, you'd like to know what became of those geese.
Yes, sir.
Or rather, of that goose. It's one bird, I believe, in which you are interested. White, with a black bar across the tail.
Oh, sir, if you could tell me where it is.
It came here.
Here?
Yes, and a most remarkable bird it proved. Of no wonder you should have had an interest in it. It laid an egg after it was dead. The brightest, bonniest little blue egg there ever was. I have it here in my museum.
You have it here?
The Countess Morcar's blue carbuncle.
But how did... You are the devil!
The game's up, Ryder. Hold up, man. You'll fall into the fire. Help him into his chair, Watson. Give him a dash of brandy. Now that he looks a little bit more human, I have every link in my hands. and all the proofs I could possibly need. So there's little which you need to tell me. Still, that little might as well be cleared up to make the case complete. How did you hear, Ryder? The Countess of Morcar's Bluestone?
It was Captain Cusack who told me of it.
Indeed. Her ladyship's waiting maid. Well, the temptation of sudden wealth so easily acquired was too much for you, as it has been for better men before you. But you were not very scrupulous in the means with which you used. You knew that this man Horner, the plumber, had been concerned in some such matter before, and that suspicion would lie more readily upon him. What did you do then? You made some small job in my lady's room, you and your confederate Cusack, and you managed that he should be the man sent for. Then, after he had left, you rifled the jewel case, raised the alarm, and had this unfortunate man arrested. You then—
Oh, for goodness sakes, have mercy! Think of my father, think of my mother! It would break their hearts. I've never gone wrong before, and I never will again. I swear it! I swear it on a Bible! Oh, for Christ's sakes, don't take it to court! Please don't!
Get back in your chair. Very well to cringe and crawl now, but you thought little enough of poor John Horner in the dock for a crime of which he knew nothing.
I will fly away, Mr. Holmes. I will leave this country, and then the charges against him will break down.
We will talk about that. And now, let us hear a true account of the next act. How came the stone into the goose? And how came the goose into the open market? Tell us the truth. But there lies your only hope of safety.
I will tell it to you just as it happened, Mr. Holmes. When Horner was arrested, it seemed to me that it would be best for me to get away with the stone at once. I had a contact who would help me unload the stone in Kilburn. There was no place about the hotel where the stone would be safe. I left work as up on some commission and made it for my sisters. She had married a man named Oakshott and lived on Brixton Road, where she fattened up fowls for the market. All the way there, every person I met seemed to me to be a police officer. And even though his bitter cold I felt the sweat flowing down my face before I made it to Brixton Road, my sister came up to me and asked me,
Whatever is the matter, Jeb? Why are you so short?
I told him I was upset about the jewel robbery at the hotel. I'm upset about the jewel robbery at the hotel.
Oh, dear. Well, this may hurt you up. We have a special goose for you for a Christmas present.
Oh, what a surprise. You gave me a goose for Christmas? That's what you give me every year. You're a goose farmer and you have geese.
Aren't you a grumpy Gus? Well, why don't you go in the backyard and smoke your pipe, and maybe that will make you more hospitable.
I did as he suggested. I thought of the agonies I had gone through to coming here. I knew at any moment I would be seized and searched, and there would be the stone in my waistcoat pocket. I was leaning against the wall at the time, looking at the geese that were waddling about and around my feet. That's when the idea came into my head, which showed me how I could defeat the best detective that ever lived. I knew my sister was always as good as a word. I would take my goose in now, and in it, I would carry away my stone. There was a shed in the backyard, and behind this, I drove one of the birds, a fine big one, white, with a barred tail. I grabbed it, and praying its bill open, I thrust the stone down his throat as far as my fingers could reach. The bird gave a big gulp, and I could feel the stone notch down its craw, but the creature flapped and struggled, and out came my sister to know what was the matter.
What is the matter, Jim?
As I turned to my sister, the brute broke loose and fluttered away with the others.
Oh, whatever were you doing with that bird, Jim?
Oh, well, you said I could have a bird for Christmas. I was just trying to feel which one was the fattest.
Oh, no. We have a special bird for you, Jim's bird, we call it. It's that big white one over yonder.
Oh, well, thank you, Maggie, but if it's all the same to you, I'd much rather have the bird I was just handling just now.
Oh, but the other one is a good 3 pounds heavier. We fattened it especially for you.
Never you mind! I'll take the other, and I'll take it all!
Oh, very well. Which is the one that you want, then?
The white one, with the broad tail! Right there in the middle of the flock!
Oh, well, fine. Kill it and take it with you, then.
I did as she suggested, Mr. Holmes. I took my bird to Kilburn. I told my partner what I had just done. He grabbed a knife. He cut open the goose. My heart had turned to water, as there was no sign of the stone, and I knew that some terrible mistake had occurred. I left the bird, ran back to my sister's, hurried into the backyard, but there was no goose to be seen. Where are they all? Where are they, Maggie? Who? The bloody geese, that's who!
Well, they've all gone to the market, Jim.
Which market?
Breckenridge of Covent Garden.
But was there another white one with a barred tail like the one I just got?
Oh, yes, there were 2 with barred tail. I could never tell them apart.
Oh, dear me. What am I to do? Was this all for nothing? What am I to do?
Are you all right, Jim? You are looking a mite short.
I ran as far as my feet to carry me to this woman named Breckenridge, but she sold the entire lot at once. And not one word would she tell me is where they had gone. You heard her yourself tonight. My sister thinks I'm going mad. Sometimes I think I'm going mad myself. And now, I am a branded thief, without even touching the wealth of which I sold my character. God help me! God help me!
Get out.
Oh, heavens bless you!
No more words. Get out.
No more words were needed. There was a rush, a cry over the bird, a bang of a door, and the crisp sound of running footfalls from the street.
After all, Watson, I am not retained by the police to supply their deficiencies. I suppose I am committing a felony, but perhaps I am just saving a soul.
Why did this man Horner, the plumber?
I shall send a note to Inspector Lestrade, telling him to release Horner. No innocent man should have to start the new year behind bars. As for Ryder, he will not go wrong again. He is too terribly frightened. Send him to jail now and you'll make him a jailbird for life.
That was indeed the last we ever saw of James Ryder.
After all, it is the season of forgiveness. Now, are you hungry, Watson?
Famished.
Shall we at last enjoy our whimsical woodcock?
Splendid idea, Holmes. Splendid.